Hi, how's it going? This is Dan with them. I wanted to make a video psychiatric induced. I've been dealing with psychosis or illness since I was 16 years old. That because I made other videos, my testimony, how I became a Christian, also different things. There's wanted to get involved in the book. Dr. Peter Breggin. I'll show you the book here. This is the book. It's Anti-depressant fact book, and basically the antidepressant fact book was years and years and years ago. But now this is a really great book. I would recommend any book that he, writes on psychiatry. But basic stuff on psychiatry. But there's another book. I'm not going to get into all these, of course, tonight. But this is a book called "Your Drug May Be Your Problem." Put this back here. "Your Drug May Be Your Problem: How and Why to Stop Taking Psychiatric Drugs." This book literally saved my life from becoming a ward of the state, or from me committing suicide or something insane like that, or even worse. So that book was all things because I learned it from JesusTheSavior.com, and got some information off there over a decade ago. This book here, big fat book here, talks psychiatry. Again, Peter Breggin. I mean, the biggest guy. He's been around since 1950 in the psychiatry field. He's a doctor like that. He went to Harvard and all those types. But here's another one, Medication Madness. Now, I've read more other books as well, but I've read most of those. One book I didn't read the complete thing yet, but Medication Madness. But anyways, these books are amazing in exposing, psychiatric illnesses, and how psychiatric drugs are actually a huge role in why people have psychiatric illnesses, because the drugs give biochemical imbalances, which they say, the doctors, psychiatrists, all that will say, that the drugs actually are supposed to be curing the biochemical imbalances, but study shows, science, 100% fact shows that these medication, psychiatric drugs, cause biochemical imbalances, which cause psychiatric illnesses. This book here, the Antidepressant Fact Book. Let me turn to a page here, and we will look into some things that he's saying. Now, let's see here. So basically, it says on page 80, for the heading, learning from science and clinical experience. I felt compelled by my scientific research and clinical experience to change my conclusion. Under the influence of psychoactive chemicals, people can behave in ways that they would ordinarily reject as irrational or bad. So he says people can and do behave in ways that they would ordinarily reject as bad. This is what psychiatric, and you can look up on research for yourself, and this guy's information that you can get out there. There's no one psychiatric field, so he knows what he's talking about. He's an old man now. But anyways, also, let's see here, in this section, he says this was his book that he put forth is called Psychiatric Drugs: hazards to the brain that it was published back in 1983. Okay, so but his conclusion was, because back then he had a different opinion, but after studying, this is what he said to find. By the time I was finished with my background research, it was impossible to reject the idea that psychoactive drugs influence people to act in ways that their values and willpower would not normally allow. So he come to the conclusion for a fact he could not reject that the psychiatric medication brings people to the point where they do things, they act in a way against their values and willpower. They have no willpower to be able to control what's going on. So that we normally wouldn't allow those types of things and and act that way, but these psychiatric medications go ahead and forcing these people with psychiatric illnesses and acting a way they would never act. So then he goes on. He says there were many sources of data to confirm drug effects, including controlled clinical trials where people taking psychiatric drugs compared to the same people taking a sugar pill, this is called a placebo, a sugar pill, developed a variety of mental disturbances, including depression, mania, and psychosis. So we see here that these people taking a sugar pill weren't getting these types of problems compared to the people on the psychiatric medication that are actually taking psychiatric pills. So then he goes on and says, my growing clinical and forensic experience confirmed that many kinds of drugs can produce extreme emotional responses such as suicidal depression, violent agitation, and life-disrupting psychosis. So you see these people on these medications, according to him, and this is a fact, his research and also experience being in psychiatry field, a doctor there in the psychiatry field, stating here that they are likely in things of all these extreme emotional responses, suicidal depression, violent agitation, and life-disrupting psychosis. So these things are coming about. These people on psychiatric medication not doing all these different types of things that they normally would never do, but they're going out and acting upon ways they would never act normally under a sober mind, in a normal mind, but they're getting these psychiatric illnesses, psychosis, from the medication, forcing them doing things out of their will. And I'm telling you, numerous times in my life, these types of things have happened. Numerous, over and over and over again, ever since I've been on and off psychiatric medication, since I was 16 years old. It's been a non-stop battle, things like this. We'll go on into more information that he goes and talks about in this book called the Antidepressant Fact Book. Now, Dr. Breggin in page 87 of this book says, Akithisia, this is a very serious illness. Akithisia is key to many antidepressant-induced suicides. See how serious that is? Akithisia. It's known by scientific facts that these medications are causing antidepressants and other, also I would obviously put into that as well, psychotics, they're having induced suicides because of this. He said, I have seen Akithisia drive people into feeling depressed, suicidal, and even violent. All right? He's seen this stuff firsthand, being a doctor. Then it goes on. Akithisia may be associated with dysphoria, which is painful emotions. All right? Irritability, aggression, or suicide attempts. He has seen these types of things firsthand, and this is what psychotropic medication can and will bring out, not all the time, but in different situations, these things can happen. Mentions worsening of psychotic symptoms. Worsening of psychotic symptoms or behavioral discontrol. All right? So this is hardcore. It's called Akithisia. And I've been suffering from this on and off along many years of Akithisia. Different types of things. Suicidal, homicidal type of thinking from time to time. And it's just insanity. And it's wickedness that these psychotropic drugs bring. Normally, you can't even. Normally, we wouldn't be acting those types of ways, but then we're it's against our will. But this forcing these types of things that we would act upon that way in a normal, sober mind. But the psychotropic medication, psychosis and psychotic behavior, and it's a fact, scientific, and nobody can prove me wrong because science backs it up, and his research is backed by science. He goes on and says, Prozac-induced akathisia. 1990, when they reported on a series of patients who became compulsively suicidal while taking the drug. This Prozac is big time, and these people, these patients, were compulsively suicidal because of the fact of the psychiatric medication. Psych-induced medication. Psychiatric drug-induced illness. So, then he goes on and says, they developed akathisia and explained that these distressing feelings had precipitated their original suicide attempts. Alright? The akathisia and the suicidal feelings abated, so it went down. It's a biblical word, abated. It went down once again when the Prozac was stopped for the second time. So when they stopped this Prozac, what do you think happened? The suicidal types of things going on stopped. Then they put them back on it. They went suicidal type, all these types of things going on again. Ideation, all that type of stuff going on. Then they get off it. What do you think happens? Suicidal attempt or whatever, suicidal ideation, all those types of things. And I'll say, so it says exactly. Suicide attempts didn't happen after they get off this Prozac. So he even talks about Rothschild right here and things like that. But it's in. Well, this is different. Rothschild and Locke reported 3 cases of patients who made serious suicide attempts while taking Prozac and then recovered when the Prozac was stopped. This Rothschild is not who I'm thinking of. Basically, you have these types of things. These people get on these medications, whether it be Prozac or whatever. They start getting suicidal. They start having attempts and all these things. Then they're like, wait a minute, let's take them off these drugs. Then they're not being suicidal anymore. And they're not having attempts like that. Then they put them back. They're having suicidal attempts and all these different things happening. Then they take them off, and then it's abated. It starts going away. They're not having these problems. Obviously, it's a psychiatric medication. And also going on in page 125, talking about lithium. I've been on and off lithium since I was 16. I'm on it now. I'm getting eventually, Lord, I'll work with my doctors and stuff like that and get off it slowly. But anyways, I'm not going to get into all that. But now, let's see, lithium, for example, is a toxic element that suppresses overall brain function. Lithium, talk about the drug lithium. There's a natural lithium that's good, but this, and therefore is used to control the occurrence of manic episodes. So this stuff here, it's a toxic element that suppresses overall brain function. Bad stuff, wicked. During the first few weeks or months after stopping lithium, there is an increased risk of developing manic episodes. So if people are on this for periods of time, and they just cold turkey it, there's increased of developing manic episodes. They could have manic episodes because they cold turkey their lithium. This is it, man. It's called psychiatric drug withdrawal is what it is. So that there, and it says that this is called withdrawal emergent psychosis. And this is a doctor term, whatever. A withdrawal psychosis, or a withdrawal emergent psychosis, because they're immediately getting off this lithium or whatever, and then they're having this psychosis of the withdrawals, psychiatric drug withdrawal. So this is just insane, you know. And he has a lot more books than this. Dr. Peter Breggin, he's got a lot more books than this, and I suggest, you know, you have you get on some information about these types of things so you can help your friends, your loved ones, and if you're dealing with it, you need to get the information and go out there and say, man, I gotta do this properly. It's a big time battle. I've been dealing with this, you know, trying to properly do these things with my doctors, but of course, really, your doctors don't help you pretty much. All they do is prescribe the meds. You have to have the information by Dr. Peter Breggin to be able to have the knowledge to know what to do. You have to read up on these things if you're dealing with this stuff. And if you know people that have psychiatric illnesses, you need to read up on it for them and have compassion and go out there and try to help them as well. Now, it's their decision whether they're going to come down off these properly with the knowledge that they need, and also their doctors, whatever. But that's their decision. But you need to have some compassion, if you're a Christian, this and that, to be able to warn and people that are on these psychiatric medications, warn the place. I heard years ago that 20% of children, teenagers, and things like that are on psychiatric medication. Also, that was when I was listening to Alex Jones. Also, Breggin said 40% of adults are on psychiatric medication. That's 40%. That's in America. That's 40% of Americans, and that would be a number. That was a long, long time ago. Those stats came out. So this is very serious business. Suicide, homicide, all these types of things happen because they're acting upon something that is being forced upon them. These medication making them do things they never would do in their normal mind. Same with me. It happens to me all the time. You know, when certain things happen, and you know, I cold turkey my meds or get off them to whatever it might be, and there's hardcore psychosis, and all these types of things happen, and you know, I mean, this is very, very serious, and Christians need to study in these things so they can also help other people with this situation. This is not something to be lightly, you know, and also something to be, you know, certain things happen, people doing things, they don't have any control over it. So don't judge them and say and don't want anything to do with them because of the fact that, well, they did this certain thing, whatever it might be. They're doing because of these psych drugs, whether they're withdrawals or just being on the psych drugs, it's just, man. And you gotta bear with them and pray for them and help them in these types of situations, and not beat them while they're down and shoot them while they're down and all those types of things. It's very serious, and you know, so I would suggest for sure to study into it, look at it through it, go ahead and also so you can help people out in these types of situations.